everyone.
Good morning.
We're here to celebrate and we feel the blessings of the teachings of HUIYAN, Avalokiteshvara, which is the representation of the mind state of great compassion, loving kindness and compassion. So one of the teachings of the HUIYAN, of course, is the very famous Heart Sutra. And over the last several months, we've had a small group studying each week after the meditation, talking about the verses of the Heart Sutra. The Heart Sutra begins, there's actually a preface to the Heart Sutra that's not in our chanting, where the scene of what's going on is explained. Sariputra, who is one of the great disciples of the Buddha, very high in wisdom, goes to the Buddha and asks the Buddha, how is it that a person can learn how to stop suffering and how to help others stop suffering? What is the teaching that works well to help others in this way? And the Buddha says, go ask Avalokiteshvara over there, HUIYAN, who's seated with one arm on the leg, very open, ready to listen to any concerns or questions, called the Royal Ease Pose. So Sariputra goes over to HUIYAN and asks the question, how can we stop suffering? How can we help others stop suffering? And HUIYAN then gives the famous talk we know as the Heart Sutra. Sariputra, form is not different from emptiness. Emptiness is not different from form. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. So it is with feeling, conceptions, mental formations, and consciousness, and so forth. And in this very short sutra, this teaching, there's a set of verses that goes, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, no form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and dharmas, etc. And upon reading this years ago and even to today, there's always deeper understanding, I hope, that I can gain from reading this, chanting this. The story reminded me a few weeks ago of an experience that I had when I was a young man, around 20 years old, when I was with my first meditation teacher. And on a wall where we would sit and practice meditation, there was a painting, a reproduction of a painting by HUIYAN, of Bodhidharma from the side view. Very famous painting, if you're familiar with HUIYAN, Japanese artist. And this great eyeball is very, very white and has a small dot for the eye. And the eyeball is very big. And I remember as a young man, it kind of disturbed me in a way because it looked like Bodhidharma was following me around the room. And I asked my teacher, what is this big eyeball? And he had said something to me, explained it, and I didn't understand it, so I kind of put it aside. Then, many years later, here at Maba, Master gave a talk on the 5 eyes. And when he gave this talk on the 5 eyes, it triggered my memory of this buried story that my teacher had told about Bodhidharma. And then I looked up the teaching in the collection of what's called the Prajna Paramita, the highest wisdom sutras, from which the Heart Sutra is one of the many sutras that is found in this collection. Very vast collection of sutras. And there was the teaching on the 5 eyes. So I want to share with you a little bit about the 5 eyes and how it's connected perhaps to an understanding that we can have of the verses of the Heart Sutra, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, etc. So very briefly, the 5 eyes starts off with what's called the physical eye. In Chinese, the word HUIYAN. If you say to a person, I don't want meat, you say, Meyo Ro. This is HUIYAN. This is the meat eye. So this eye is capable of seeing, as we know, the world around us. We see all of the shapes and colors and details. This eye is very good at being able to pick up many of those things. Also, this eye is responsible for being able to say, oh, I like how that looks. I don't like how that looks. I want this. I don't want that. This eye is very strong in that quality. This is the quality of seeing the desire realm. We don't understand so much at the beginning of our practice about the desire realm in the same way as we might say that fish, when they live in the water, they don't know that they're living in the water. This is just how it is. We live in the air, our bodies. We don't spend too much time thinking about the air unless we miss out on the air. In the same way, we don't realize that the eye and all of our sense gates are very pulled and attracted to the sense data and desire, the mind craving. And that this craving can lead to the suffering. So when the Bodhidharma is with his eye, not exactly the same as the meat eye, it represents a different kind of eye. The second eye, Tianyan, this is a higher eye, sometimes called heavenly eye, but really in a sense this higher eye means, from the experience that I have investigated, has a lot to do with the ability of the person to look at the world from the point of view of loving kindness and compassion. Wherever the eye looks, it sees loving kindness and compassion no matter what. So it's not so concerned about what it can get. It's concerned about what it can give. This is the higher eye. Then above this is HUIYAN. HUIYAN is the eye of wisdom. Wisdom eye is the ability to understand the teachings and to apply the teachings first in the mundane world. So a person understands the Dharma, they understand some of the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, etc. They understand how to apply those teachings to the mundane world. We call this wisdom. And also inspires the person to continue to practice to go to a higher level of wisdom. Higher level of wisdom to the supramundane world of how to practice on the higher levels. Which then opens up the Dharma eye, Phaya. Higher than the wisdom eye is the Dharma eye. I believe that this is the eye that Bodhidharma shows in the picture of the big eyeball. empty space with a small dot. The ability to learn how to go to the higher levels using the Dharma. And then finally, the fifth eye, HUIYAN. This is the Buddha eye, the eye of enlightenment. So these are the five eyes. The physical, loving kindness, compassion, wisdom, Dharma eye, and Buddha eye. So when a person begins to develop on a little bit more of the loving kindness eye and a little bit more of the wisdom eye, then the attachment to the physical eye is not so strong. Only a matter of convenience or inconvenience. If you go into duality, you worry about convenience, inconvenience, but the more the person focuses on other kinds of experiences, then they don't need to be concerned about this. So they don't need to be having this eye, physical eye, so much. So here, this in the higher wisdom, the concern for the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, not so strong. So as we practice today and we understand the teaching from the higher prajna paramita, we know that loving kindness and compassion from the mind state of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara comes from a very high place. We experience the loving kindness and compassion, but that loving kindness and compassion also contains wisdom, the teachings of the Dharma, and helps us towards our ultimate practice of becoming enlightened. I wanted to share this with you today, and I hope that this will help you in your practice further to develop the five eyes. Master will continue the talk.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Continue to Dan Ye's talk. Because of his eyes is not going too well right now, so maybe 10% left what he can see as what I got the information. So grateful he thinks deeply into the mind eyes.
Sa